Audiobook Academy. Book Summary. The Sleeping Beauty in the Wood. By Charles Perrault. Every fairy tale has a lesson that good triumphs over evil, and in these stories, the young princess lives a happy life with her prince and 2 children while the evil queen is made to pay for her deeds. The fable includes numerous other incidents that a poor servant faced in addition to the happy conclusion. His wife supported him as he struggled to stop the evil queen from devouring his family. The evil queen intended to get rid of him, but when the young prince showed there, she changed her mind. She threw herself into a barrel full of poisonous snakes and frogs, which then ate her. The worst manner possible was used by justice to catch up to the wicked queen. In the same way that she wanted to consume her daughter-in-law, the animals devoured her. Mom's son mourned for her, but he understood that it was the only way he could be at peace. A king and a queen once reigned, but they were unable to conceive. They sought medical advice and made every effort to conceive. They were inexplicably depressed, but a miracle occurred and they gave birth to a baby girl. She had 7 fairy godmothers, and a large ceremony was held the day of her baptism. In order to achieve every possible level of perfection, the daughter was given 7 gifts. Everything was prepared for the event on the castle. Gold tableware with jewel-encrusted decorations was used. An unexpected visitor arrived as the fairies were setting up. Everyone believed the 50-year-old fairy to be either dead or charmed because she never left the tower where she lived. She wasn't given the same cutlery as the other fairies even though the king ordered that a place be prepared for her. Each fairy received 7 parcels from the king, who did not anticipate an unforeseen visit from any of them. She had the impression that everyone hated her. The little fairy heard her murmur something and decided to hide during the baptism behind the curtains to prevent her from doing anything wrong. She was the final person in line to repair any harm the elderly fairy could cause when the baptism began. The young woman possessed beauty, intelligence, kindness, dance ability, singing ability, and musical talent. The elderly fairy appeared and said that she would sting herself on a spindle and pass away instantly. The guests were all in a state of shock and on the edge of tears. The youngest fairy showed up and informed the group that she would not perish but rather sleep for 100 years before being awakened by a prince. The monarch ordered the removal of all the spindles from the realm in order to safeguard his daughter. When her parents were on vacation, the princess became 16 years old. She was exploring the castle until she arrived at the tallest tower, where she encountered an elderly woman holding a spindle. She was unaware of the king's command to remove all the spindles. The little princess decided to test the woman's job out because she was fascinated about it, but she stung herself on the spindle in the process. In a state of fear, the elderly woman began to call for assistance. Water was poured on the princess in an attempt to revive her, but the effort was unsuccessful. When he heard the disturbance, the king hastened to the tower. He gave the fairies the instruction to place her in the most stunning area of the realm and to lay her on a bed of silver and gold since he knew that day would come. She had an angelic appearance. The king was certain that she would awaken in 100 years since they could hear her feeble breathing. He issued a fresh directive prohibiting contact with the princess while she was sleeping. She was spared a certain death by a fairy who lived far away, and the king dispatched a messenger to tell her the tragic news. The fairy arrived at the castle after hearing it while riding in a fire carriage drawn by dragons. She spoke with the king, and they came to the conclusion that the princess would be terrified to awaken in a deserted realm. Everyone in the castle, including the princess's dog, was enchanted by the fairy to avoid that from happening, making sure that everyone awakens at the same moment as the princess. They gave their princess a kiss and told everyone to stay away from the tower while she slept. After a while, thorns grew around the tower, preventing anyone from approaching her. Only a portion of the tower was visible to the public. After 100 years, a king's son went hunting. The abundance of thorns startled him, and he believed he could make out the top of a structure. Everyone had a different theory for it when he asked about it. He was told by one hunter that there were spirits there, and by the other that there were witches. The other hunters believed that a child-eating cannibal dwelt there. Unsure of whom to believe, the prince asked a peasant, who informed him that a stunning princess was in the tower and that a kiss would awaken her. The thorns moved out of the prince's path as soon as he chose to go find the lovely princess and began going towards the tower. Because the thorns would obstruct their path, no one could follow him. He kept moving forward. People were lying on the ground as he arrived at a terrace. He initially believed they were all dead, but after noticing their flushed cheeks, he realized they were simply dozing off from the excessive amounts of wine they had consumed. He continued on foot, ascended the steps, and came upon sleeping guards. He thought everything was unusual, but he didn't want to give up. When he entered the space, he was met by the stunning princess. The princess awoke as a result of the spell being broken as he kneeled in front of her bed. She told the king that she had been anticipating him as she turned to face him. He was perplexed, and they exchanged words. When the princess opened her eyes, everyone else did too. They continued working and prepared a delectable dinner. The prince helped her out of bed and noticed a lovely dress she was wearing. He thought it looked like his grandmother's attire, but he refrained from commenting out of respect for her. A violin played non-stop while a large room filled with mirrors hosted the dinner. After dinner was over, they got married. Evening fell, and the following morning the king returned home to explain his absence to his father. He explained to him how he got lost in the woods and spent the night in a person's home. The mother didn't, but the father did. She had no doubt that he was in love. The prince and princess were married for 2 years, during which time they gave birth to 2 children. His mother asked him if he was in love, but he remained silent because he was aware that his mother had cannibal ancestry and that she was rumored to like eating other people. The monarch died after 2 more years, thus the prince had to assume his duties. He announced his marriage to everyone and held a ceremony to welcome his wife and kids. The young king and the emperor eventually went to battle. He informed his mother that he was leaving his wife and children in care because he had to leave for a conflict. He was absent the entire summer. The princess was sent to their country estate by the queen after he had left. After a few days, she joined them and gave the servants instructions to prepare her granddaughter for supper. The servants were terrified as she had to sate her cannibalistic desires. He went to the room of the young girls to listen to her because he had to. She approached him quickly and begged him for candy. He decided to kill a lamb for dinner out of mercy for her. In order to prevent the queen from seeing that she wasn't eating her grandchild, he also prepared some sauce. In order to protect the girl from the queen, he concealed her in his wife's house. However, the queen eventually became interested in eating her grandson. The maid repeated her previous ruse. The princess was to be prepared with the same sauce because the queen also wanted to eat her. The servant admitted the truth after realizing he couldn't get an animal to stand in for the princess. The princess was prepared to die because her children were already dead when he entered her room brandishing a sword. They were secure, he assured her. He saved the princess while preparing another feast. After enjoying her meal, the evil queen considered telling her son about how wolves tore her family apart. The wicked queen was prowling the realm one night when she overheard a kid whimpering. Her grandson had done wrong, therefore he was making amends to his grandmother. The princess and the children were to be brought to the evil queen by her attendants so that she might toss them into a barrel of frogs and snakes. Fortunately, the prince showed there and witnessed the situation. The animals devoured the queen after she threw herself into the barrel out of fear. Since she was his mother, the prince was upset by everything, but he sought solace in his family. Princess, a young, lovely girl who the good fairies helped prevent the evil fairy from enchanting. After 100 years of sleep, her prince awoke her, and they had 2 children. Her life was ideal up until the point when her mother-in-law threatened to eat her and her children, causing a conflict to break out. She was timely saved by her prince. The moment he laid eyes on the lovely princess, he was captivated. Because her mother was a cannibal, he was hesitant to tell her about his marriage to her. Because his mother wanted to devour them, he once went into battle and came dangerously close to losing his family. Thankfully, he came in time to save them. Evil queen, a cannibal who desired to devour her son's family. She was so depraved that she was eagerly anticipating her son's escape so she could feast on his family. She ended up taking her own life since she failed to reach her objectives. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button for more content like this. See you in next video.